area where you're going to set up and operate your treadmill. For safe operation, the machine must be located on a hard, level surface. Please allow a minimum work area of 24 inches around the perimeter of the treadmill. The back of the treadmill will require a minimum 79-inch clearance. Be sure that the workout space you chose has adequate height clearance, taking into consideration the height of the user and maximum incline of the machine. Do not cut the shipping strap on the base assembly until it has been placed face up in the appropriate workspace. Before you begin the assembly, please make sure you read the assembly manual thoroughly, as it contains important safety warnings and assembly tips. Please note that there are some steps in the assembly process that might require 2 people to help with the assembly. Some components of the machine can be heavy or unwieldy. Please use a second person when doing assembly involving these parts. For assembly assistance, please visit us online or give us a call. Check the assembly manual for a complete parts list. Please note that a right R and left L decal has been applied to some parts to assist with assembly. The following wrench is included with your assembly: a 6mm Allen key as well as a number 2 Phillips screwdriver. Step 1. Attaching the uprights. Begin step 1 by locating the base assembly, part 16, and setting it flat on the floor. Next, locate the right upright, part 12, and place it on the front right side of the base assembly. Slide the upright into place and match the holes located on the base upright. Attach the upright using 3 part A screws, 3 part B lock washers, and 3 part C flat washers. 2 in the front and 1 in the back. Hold the upright in place and hand tighten the hardware at this time, as you will need to fully tighten the hardware at a later step. The back or interior hardware will be hand tightened on the hole located on top of the upright. Do not use the bottom hole and do not crimp the cables. Repeat these steps for the opposite side and attach the left upright, part 20. Once both uprights are in place, connect the console cables from the base assembly to the right upright cables. Be sure to fully connect the cable connectors. The connectors should easily connect when inserted correctly. Step 1 is now complete. Step 2. Attaching the crossbar and pivot covers. Begin step 2 by locating the crossbar, part 6, and placing it in between both uprights. A right R decal has been applied to the right side of the crossbar to assist with assembly. Matching the inner holes of the uprights, slowly slide the crossbar into place. Next, attach the crossbar using 2 part A screws, 2 part B lock washers, and 2 part C flat washers. Hand tighten the hardware at this time, as you will need to fully tighten the hardware at a later step. Repeat these steps for the opposite side. Next, locate the left pivot cover, part 18, and place it on the bottom left side of the base assembly. Slowly push the cover into place and match the end indentation side of the treadmill. Snap the pivot cover into place and attach the cover using 2 part D screws. Insert the screws into place and fully tighten the screws using the provided number 2 Phillips screwdriver. Repeat these steps for the opposite side and fully attach the right pivot cover. Step 2 is now complete. Step 3. Attaching the console base assembly. It is recommended that someone assist you with this step. Begin step 3 by locating the console base assembly, part 4, and placing it on top of each upright rail. The cables from the right upright will be attached to the cables located on the right side of the console base assembly. Insert the cables into the console base and slowly slide the console base assembly into place. Do not crimp the cables. Next, connect the cables on the back. Be sure to fully connect the cable connectors. The connectors should easily connect when inserted correctly. Once the cables are attached, proceed to securing the assembly to the uprights using 3 Part A screws, 3 Part B lock washers, and 3 Part C flat washers per upright. Insert the screws into both allocated holes located on the side of the upright and one hole located on the back side. Hand tighten the hardware at this time, as you will need to fully tighten the hardware at a later step. Repeat these steps for the opposite side. Step 3 is now complete. Step 4. Attaching the upright supports. Begin Step 4 by placing the left upright support, Part 19, and placing it on the left side of the base assembly. The upright support attaches to both the upright rail and to the bottom base rail. Attach the upright support using 3 Part A screws, 3 Part B lock washers, and 3 Part C flat washers per upright support. Starting with the middle hole, loosely install the hardware at this time. Hand tighten the hardware for now. Once the first screw is in place, proceed to installing the top hardware. Hand tighten the hardware for now. Once the top hardware is in place, proceed to installing the bottom screw. Hand tighten the hardware for now. After attaching the bottom hardware, go back to the middle screw and fully tighten the screw using the provided 6mm Allen key. Proceed to fully tightening the top screw. Finally, fully tighten the bottom screw. Next, repeat these steps for the opposite side and attach the right upright support, Part 14. Loosely attach the hardware at this time and follow the same sequence as the left upright support. Next, go back and fully tighten all hardware from the previous steps. Starting with the top console base assembly hardware, use the provided 6mm Allen key and fully tighten the hardware on both uprights. Next, proceed with the crossbar hardware. Use the provided 6mm Allen key and fully tighten the hardware on both sides. Finally, fully tighten the hardware located on the bottom of each upright. Make sure to fully tighten the hardware on the back, inner, side of the uprights. Once all hardware has been tightly secured, Step 4 is now complete. Step 5. Attaching the console mast to the frame assembly. Begin Step 5 by locating the console mast, Part 3, and placing it on top of the frame assembly as shown. Route the cables through the console mast and then attach the console mast to the frame assembly. Pull the cables all the way through with enough slack and take care not to crimp the cables. Secure the console mast to the frame assembly using 2 Part F screws, 2 Part B lock washers, and 2 Part C flat washers. Fully tighten the screws using the provided 6mm Allen key. Step 5 is now complete. Step 6. Attaching the console assembly. Begin Step 6 by locating the console assembly, Part 2, and placing it in front of the console mast. Before attaching the console, remove the rear console shroud and the pre-installed hardware. Using the provided number 2 Phillips screwdriver, remove the screws and washers located on the back of the console assembly. Set the hardware aside for now. There is a metal tab on the console mount plate. Place the console onto the plate and fit the metal tab into a slot on the console. The cables from the console assembly must be routed through the console mast before hooking the console assembly in place. Place the console onto the console mast and route the cables through and out of the console mast.